All right, here we are again. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for joining. Today we have got a ton of our webinar superstars here today. We've got a full house of usual suspects. Thanks everybody for coming to join us. Hopefully, we just got done with Explore on Tour Frankfurt. So super successful program with that this year. And now coming up, we're going to be jumping right into preparing for Explore Las Vegas next year after the first of the year. So thanks to everybody who attended, who watched the on-demand videos, who went and did the certifications at these events. We were offering certifications with your passes. It was a highly successful program. Little Bird told me we can pretty much expect to be seeing that again next year. So that's super good. So hey, we've got a full house today, so we should really get started today. VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance, super duper hot topic. Baloo, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Very excited to talk about our new offering. You folks may have seen the news. We announced this pretty recently at Explore Vegas, and we are now ready to share all the details of this VCF Advanced service. I'll make a quick introduction of myself. My name is Baloo. I'm the Solution PMM lead for VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance. And I am joined today by many of my colleagues who are subject matter experts across all of the different components of the offering that we're going to be talking about today. So we have a lot to cover, so let's dive in. First of all, we do have to show you folks this slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but essentially this is the agenda that we have for today. Right. So, of course, we want to share and also understand some of the key challenges that we are seeing right across different IT organizations when it comes to the spectrum of use cases, the resilience, the security, the compliance. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we would love to hear from you to understand whether these challenges are resonating and whether you have any others you want to share. Of course, the value of VMware Cloud Foundation is as a platform, right? And it is something that really sets us apart from other players in the industry. So, of course, we're going to talk about how this new offering fits into our broader value proposition that we are delivering as a platform. And then we're going to dive right into the offering, right? So these three key pillars that you see on the screen. So with that, let's dive in. So I'd like to kick it off by talking a little bit about these key challenges, right? How do we manage cyber risk? How do we enforce compliance? How do we enable confident recovery? We know there's so many threats to business continuity, threats to non-compliance, all of these different challenges that ultimately can compromise your ability to operate smoothly. So the first challenge that I want to bring up here is the siloed policy management, right? So in many cases, organizations have policy monitoring across their VMs, containers, infrastructure, and technology stack components that is scattered across multiple tools, multiple locations, owned by different people, right? So consolidating all of that information is much needed, right? Because ultimately the approach to compliance must be holistic, and we have to get this visibility to be able to determine where the drifts are, how to remediate them. So ultimately, organizations who don't have this end up relying on more of a reactive response versus a proactive response, which as you can imagine, does bring a little bit of a risk. Second key challenge, right, is this huge amount of manual intervention that is required, right, to be able to remediate drifts, to be able to patch vulnerabilities, to be able to recover your data in the event of an outage or in the event of a cyber attack. So bringing all of these together is especially challenging, and ultimately we all know that audits are becoming increasingly stringent, and there's so many regulations that evolve by the minute. So this is incredibly important, and one of the big challenges that we're looking to solve with VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance. The third one is kind of tied to what I just said, right? We're using this kind of manual approach, this piecemeal approach to the spectrum of use cases, and we end up relying on multiple different solutions that come from different vendors, right? So, and that brings a series of challenges, right? The first one being the intense use of IT resources that is required to be able to integrate all of these tools that don't necessarily talk to each other, the lifecycle management, the cost, and most importantly, the fact that there are potentially gaps that will expose your organization to increased damage. And then finally, it's all about having the right tools, right? So the advanced monitoring, remediation, and cyber recovery capabilities that need to be need to meet the needs of the business in today's modern threat landscape, right? So just to show you a little bit of research, right? PwC actually reports that 42% of organizations lack technology and tools as the main challenge, right? So they're stating this is a key challenge, and ultimately this is another important part of this offering that we're going to be covering today. So we'd like to hear from you guys now. So Anders, can you help us pull up the first poll, please?
Absolutely. We'll run this for a couple seconds because I know we have a lot of ground to cover today. All righty. Take your top choice there. Well, got a couple of superstars in here. All right, we'll give it about 10 more seconds. Got 56% participation. Let's make it 60, folks. A couple more of you get in. All righty, 3, 2, 1. We are good. All right, let's take a look at some of these results. Interesting.
Very interesting. It really seems like, you know, the majority of folks are within these two last categories, right? You're either implementing some solutions but are struggling potentially with these key things that I just mentioned, or you are simply starting to think about how to approach these in the spectrum of business critical use cases. So hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions and give you a solution that will allow you to address all of the challenges that you're facing. So let's move on. When it comes to the value that we deliver as a platform, right? So for VMware Cloud Foundation, security, resiliency, integrity, are all built into the platform, right? So what we're trying to do here is not to offer an advanced service that is going to deliver, the basic integrity, resiliency, compliance, but it is designed to enhance that for organizations who operate under heavily regulated environments or who simply want to bolster their defenses and essentially deploy a more robust setup to enforce compliance and security. But the core platform already has many capabilities that support these key areas. And what we're doing with advanced services, as you can see on the screen, is we are building on top of that, right? To be able to address specific specific needs of some of our customers, right? Which may be unique to you, depending on the industry you're in, depending on the pressure you have. So ultimately, we are making these available so that you are able to access the services and technology that your business requires. It is in this context, right, that we introduced VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance. And there are three key pillars of value that we have kept in mind as we've engineered this offering that combines existing VMware solutions into a single a single offering. So first of all, we have continuous compliance enforcement at scale, right? So this ties to the siloed policy management that I was mentioning on the challenges slide, right? And this inability that we have today to be able to monitor, remediate at scale across all of these multiple components, right? So this is a key challenge that we're looking to address with this new offering. The second one is, and this should come as no surprise, right? Cyber and disaster recovery. I'm sure all of you are painfully aware of how difficult it can be to actually enable confident recovery, not just from a power outage or a hardware failure, but most importantly from these cyber attacks that continue to evolve and have really become very sophisticated and require all of these advanced tools to be able to be mitigated. And then finally, last but certainly not least, we are enhancing platform security and enabling this better incident response, right? So we want to enable faster incident response. And the way we're going to do that is by delivering a few key things that I'm going to mention on my next slide. So this is essentially the vision that we have for the offering. And now I'm going to walk you through what the offering looks like today at GA. So we announced general availability of VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance on November 3rd. So this service is already available to you. And what you see on the screen is essentially the set of capabilities that are included in this generally available offering. So first of all, we have embedded components of VMware Salt into VCF Ops, right? So we're going to be delivering this compliance monitoring and desired state remediation for workloads. We have also announced a partnership with Canonical, where what we're doing is we are supporting these ultra small Ubuntu images to minimize the attack surface and essentially help organizations operate more securely. And on top of that, we are building the value of the offering with enterprise cyber recovery to on-premises VCF environments. I know you folks have been waiting for this, so it is finally here. And the disaster recovery you already know and love, right? The orchestration, the automation, all these deep history of immutable air gap snapshot, all of the things that were previously known as a site recovery manager, right? So all those capabilities have been integrated into this offering. And then finally, when it comes to security, right, these proactive assessment reports that we're going to be delivering to advanced cyber compliance customers, as well as this enhanced support for severity 2 incidents. Okay, it's time for the second poll. And I promise there's not too many, but Ander is handing it over to you.
All
if you
right,
want to launch it.
Push the button here. How many solutions is your organization currently using to secure and enforce compliance across all components of all the infrastructure and quickly restore operations in the event of a disruption? Ooh, hoping that one at the bottom stays low. No, we're not judging. We're not here to judge. We're here to learn.
We're here to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
This is also anonymous, so we
Yeah.
can't see. So no pressure. Okay.
All right, let's give it
How
10
are the participation levels?
Doing good. We're about 50%. Let's give it 10 more seconds here, folks.
Nice.
We got a lot to cover today, so I'm keeping these short and sweet. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, almost there. Can we get 60? All right, we're at 56. And here we go. So I would say not
Okay.
unexpected results. About
Oof.
yeah.
So if my math is correct, do we have 78% of folks who are using 3 to, I've lost count, number of solutions. Well, this is really validating because ultimately these are challenges that we've kept in mind as we've designed this offering, right? So understanding these challenges and what they represent for your IT organizations is really critical as we kind of prioritize and guide the vision for advanced cyber compliance. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sejong, who's going to cover compliance enforcement at scale. Over to you.
Thanks, Balu. Hello, everyone. We're next going to cover continuous compliance enforcement at scale. So we're going to cover VMware Salt, which is part of the VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance SKU that Balu was just talking about. Also on the call, looking after Salt and helping with the Q&A are Francis Wong, our product manager, as well as Vincent Riccio from technical marketing. Also, I wanted to call out Bob Plankers for helping out with the messaging, as well as helping with today's Q&A panel for today's webinar. So before I talk about VMware Salt, let's talk about some of the challenges that customers have in their IT environments. From an IT environment point of view, we often hear the same challenges from operations and security teams about compliance tasks taking time, resources, and if the tasks are not completed, then there is security risk. So usually the security operations team is different than the operations team in the sense that, a lot of times alerts or issues are found by the security operations team or the SecOps team, and then they pass the issue over to the operations team or the cloud admin team to go ahead and fix and resolve some of those issues that are found. So compliance issues and audits are like a business function, and they're infrequent. Customers might have a mock audit monthly or once a year, and then maybe a real compliance auditor might come once a year. But what happens in between? So really the main goal is to increase your security posture or improve the security posture. So usually when configurations or compliance over time, there's always a drift, and there's always a delayed detection of that configuration drift. So compliance and configuration drift can cause issues and open possible security gaps. And then they also cause IT teams to go into endless reactive cycles, and they're always playing catch up. Enforcement also takes a lot of time and resources. Regulatory requirements are always a moving target. There's always changes, and there's a lot of regulations that companies have to keep track of. So manually enforcing the updated security hardening is always staff intensive, and that's people time. And also there's always a potential for errors, especially when there's a lot of repetitive tasks that have to be done, whether it's through configuration and compliance, that have to be repeated across multiple pieces of infrastructure. There's always a possibility of errors when that happens. So doing all these things across a massive, disparate infrastructure is a challenge, especially across large topologies. So across your entire infrastructure, manual patching, configuration, and day-to-day tasks require significant time and complex tracking. People are using spreadsheets to do this. What infrastructure has been updated? What has not been updated? So VMware Salt transforms this reactive cycle into a proactive solution for cyber compliance. VMware Salt gives a customer a popular configuration, vulnerability, and compliance management tool. And then VMware Salt also provides that continuous compliance and configuration management, because it's not just about checking once a month, it's about continuously monitoring the desired state of your systems. So you're not securing your systems for an auditor, which is just, a business process. You're doing this work continuously to improve constantly your security posture to run your business. So there are no configurations, misconfigurations, or outages or issues with infrastructure. So the moment configuration drift occurs, and this does occur, Salt's event-driven automation engine detects it and can auto-remediate it immediately before security gaps open. Salt's also easy to use. When regulations or your business policies change, you update one state file and Salt enforces the updated security hardening automatically and consistently across your IT footprint. So you have that state file and you can push it out throughout your infrastructure as needed, versus having to manually do this one at a time across your infrastructure. And this dramatically reduces the staff time and eliminates the error-prone process of manual enforcement. For scale issues, Salt was built for high-speed remote execution at scale. Whether you have 10 servers or 10,000 servers, Salt enables fast automated orchestration for patching, configuration, and day-to-day tasks. So this delivers that operational efficiency across your large topologies. So just looking at the architecture of how this is set up, we have a few components. So our few pieces. So basically we have the returner as a service, or RAS, R-A-A-S. Think of a RAS as a master of masters. It can communicate with multiple Salt masters where there's compliance configurations are managed. So next we have that Salt master, and that component holds all the controls for managing your infrastructure. And then finally, we have the minions. So these are agents. They're deployed in every appliance and are responsible for executing actions. So delegating many tasks to individual devices or workloads to help with scaling. So with this architecture, it's easy to push out changes, and the changes are pushed out very quickly because it's in a distributed architecture. So Salt, in terms of being compliant, you can be compliant faster with the industry standards that are out there. So Salt automates and speeds up the daily IT tasks your team has to do, including installing software or deploying applications and services, as well as configuring and maintaining devices to a desired state. And then performing benchmark assessments for compliance standards like DISA or CIS. CIS is Center for Internet Security, which are standards that are based on best practices and guidelines for securing computer systems and networks. The CIS controls are a set of security actions that organizations can take to mitigate the most common cyber threats. Here's an example of what Salt can check based on CIS. So let's say you have to make sure that across your VMware infrastructure that you have persistent logging configured on all your ESX hosts. So this is setting logging parameters to ensure that logs survive reboots, which is critical for forensics and auditing. So if you have a reboot on your logging, then those logs could be gone. So what you have to set up, and Salt is checking, is to make sure that you do have persistence configured. Another item, example for CIS and, hardening your infrastructure that Salt can check is, let's say you want to configure the host to restrict all access to only the vCenter server. So this prevents like direct administrative access from other clients. So what Salt is doing is it's basically checking if this step is configured, which is what's called strict lockdown mode is enabled. So these are the types of checks, and there's hundreds of different checks, thousands of checks that you can have Salt do against your infrastructure to make sure the state is kept and everything's compliant. So in the screen, basically what you have is you have the, what's compliant, like 31's compliant, 14's not compliant, and then, you have 69% of those are compliant. And you can actually see which checks have been assessed, and you can see which assessments have been run. So, with the screens, it's a lot easier to see versus what had been done manually in the past in terms of checking on compliance. So VMware Salt, we can also do configurations as well. So, compliance becomes an active, continuous process. We don't just detect non-compliance, but Salt actually corrects it. So Salt uses a built-in remediation and event-driven automation to automatically detect and patch non-compliant systems. So this is where it's like missing a security patch or has an unauthorized service running. Salt will detect that and remediate. Also, VMware Salt can give you a complete security posture visibility across your entire infrastructure. You can gain a centralized view of compliance scores, vulnerability status, as well as configuration drift across all your workloads, whether they're on premises or in other clouds that you're running VMware Cloud Foundation. This scalable unified visibility doesn't just help you manage operations, because we can also look very closely at drift remediation across your configurations. So VMware Salt offers configuration management. It allows a customer to efficiently provision, configure, deploy, manage, and also monitor their infrastructure with scalability, because you can push out these checks across the infrastructure. And it's event-driven automation. So if something happens, you can have it set up to execute a certain list of commands across all your workloads. And then this way you're ensuring consistent operation and compliant software configurations throughout your infrastructure. So here on the screen, you'll see, you can set up different targets, whether it's a Linux machine or a Windows machine that's running workloads on your VMware Cloud Foundation infrastructure. You can, reduce the drifts, eliminate risk, as well as just, making the maintenance of that and doing that at scale. So another thing to point out here is with Salt, you can effectively manage the life cycle of your infrastructure. So Salt helps you with critical tasks such as applying the operating systems, package updates, as well as reconfiguring or configuring the core operating system settings like NTP and DNS. For example, if you need to push out a different NTP address, you can push that out from one place versus having to manually go in and change all those across your machines. And then also just remediating issues, as well as performing remote execution of daily tasks you have to do in IT. You can push that out from Salt. So, and overall, VMware Salt empowers you to streamline operations and gain greater efficiency in managing your infrastructure. So by automating these key tasks, VMware Salt, which is part of the new Advanced Cyber Compliance SKU, empowers your IT team, leading to greater operational efficiency, fewer manual errors, as well as a more reliable and secure IT infrastructure. Thanks. I'll go ahead and pass the session over to Sachi.
Hi, everyone. I am Sachi. I'm the product manager for in VCF division, focusing on the Canonical and Ubuntu partnership and its integration with VCF products. So let's talk about the partnership and why we need to really like why Canonical, why the partnership with VCF. So let's talk about that for a little bit. First of all, VCF, the number one private cloud for anything virtualization, and a lot more on top. And Canonical Ubuntu is the number one cloud operating system that exists in the market today. There is some reference data that we have referenced here, which shows that more than half of the organization use the Ubuntu operating system as their developer's choice, be it VM images or a container images, and it's one of the most widely used operating system to build containers also. So most trusted operating system on most trusted private cloud. That's the power of the partnership and what we want to deliver with this partnership. So we'll mainly focus on two different personas for our conversation. First is the platform admin, who is mainly responsible for delivering a secure, stable environment to the developers, and also the infra admin, who is also responsible for delivering the stable, secure infrastructure and make sure that we are compliant and make sure the privacy and all the other security concerns are addressed. So as part of this partnership, we are delivering a bunch of stuff. It starts with cloud operating system to run your VM application, secure by Kubernetes runtime. That will be supported by the Ubuntu. The third one is the AI ready images that will have your cloud operating system clubbed with the GPU drivers out of the box. And fourth one, and the topic of today's discussion is the chiseled Ubuntu containers that will be available with the Advanced Cyber Compliance queue. So really the value add for all these different persona is that, first of all, out of the box images, supported images with VCF. So VCF entitled customers can call Broadcom for support and get support for the cloud operating system, AI ready images, etc. And as part of these ACC SKU, we are also delivering this chiseled Ubuntu containers. So what are these containers really? Let's talk about that. So the chiseled operating system, chiseled Ubuntu container images are container images that has a application built in, such as Python, .NET, Go, Rust, C, etc. And these are as outcome of the chiseling process that has been done by Ubuntu for you to use out of the box. So what it really does is removes all the unwanted packages out of your operating system. And because of that process, this chiseled container images become secure by nature, and as it reduces these surface attack significantly. So for example, if you have to talk about this .NET non-chiseled container image, you can see the size is over, say, close to 250 megabit byte per size of a single container. As an outcome of the chiseling process, and when we remove everything that's not needed, for example, shell execution, remote execution, SSH, anything that's not needed for the .NET application to run is removed as part of the process. And because of that, we see the size of the container image. First of all, it gets reduced a lot. So added benefit to your infrastructure footprint. Second, it reduces the startup time significantly, more than half. And third one is because it is secure by design, you will have lesser time focusing on the compliance checks for such applications running on the chiseled containers for your infrastructure stack. Over to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, I'm back. You folks thought you'd gotten rid of me, but that's not quite yet. Okay, so we're going to talk about this use case for cyber and disaster recovery, which is near and dear to my heart. And essentially, I wanted to kick us off for this section talking a little bit about why cyber attacks continue to be an issue, right? They've been around for years. We've had mature technology that is designed to prevent them, mitigate them for a really long time, right? But nevertheless, we continue to see these devastating consequences across organizations who get hit with these increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. So the first challenge, you probably know this already, right? But it's important to highlight this. DR and cyber recovery are not the same, right? DR is foundational to cyber recovery, but cyber recovery, especially in today's world where the majority of attacks are fileless in nature, right? So a traditional file scan will not take care of it. We are requiring a few additional capabilities, right? And the ones I'm mentioning here are the most important, but there's many more. Key capabilities for cyber recovery include an isolated clean room, right? You're going to need an environment to be able to validate your workloads. These workloads need to be powered on, and especially to be able to detect these fileless strains of malware. These validation tools, right, that are advanced, that are AI/ML powered, need to be embedded into the isolated clean room, right? You need to be able to deploy these validation tools on each VM to determine whether it is a pre-infection restore point or not. And then finally, to prevent this lateral movement that we know exists and is a common behavior for malware, we do need to isolate the networks of VMs to prevent reinfection. Now, when it comes to this concept that I have immutable air-gap backup, so I'm covered, right? This really ties back to the point I just made about all of these additional capabilities that are required, right? So really don't fall for that trap, because ultimately these enhanced capabilities are what are going to allow you to recover. It's not about recovering faster or slower. At this point, it's about being able to recover at all. So keep this in mind as you think about the way you enforce resilience for your IT organization. The third challenge is manual integration of components, right? And this should come as no surprise. I talked about isolated clean room, the network isolation, the embedded validation, the orchestration replication. The list just goes on, right? So bringing all of these components together and automating the process to be able to support recovery at scale is simply very, very difficult. So this is something that we have definitely kept in mind for advanced cyber compliance. And then finally, when it comes to not only recovery plan testing, but also this much needed iterative process that needs to take place when we are recovering from a cyber attack, where we need to be able to test multiple subsequent workloads until we find a clean copy, right? So we need to be able to do this quickly and you know, avoid situations such as data rehydration, VM format conversions. I've heard people tell me it takes them a week to test the recovery plans, right? So obviously people don't test, and then we know what happens, right? So the ransomware kill chain, right? It's important to understand how ransomware operates. It's going to establish an initial malicious access, right? This could be, you know, phishing, or, you know, a very common attack vector that we've seen is also stolen credentials, right? Which further strengthen the importance of having a good recovery plan, right? Because if these bad actors are entering your systems through these legitimate protocols, right? Security tools will simply not detect them because these are legitimate ways of accessing your system. So taking control of one server, spreading across the infrastructure, moving laterally, leveraging all the VM networks that are connected to each other. They will spread until they find mission critical applications and then encrypt them, and you know what comes next. So if we think about this in the context of the NIST framework, right? So essentially what we've tried to do here is to show you how we are thinking about cyber resilience as a whole from a VCF standpoint, right, as a platform. So you may have heard me talk about in the past about our out-of-the-box hardened infrastructure, which is, you know, this built-in security that we have within the core VCF platform. Of course, there's lateral security, the distributed firewall, the advanced threat prevention, with all of these behavior and signature-based detection. And ultimately, VMware Advanced Cyber Compliance is designed to address the last two stages of this cycle, right? So I'm going to focus primarily on this, though we could talk for hours about the entire spectrum. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what makes our cyber recovery mechanisms unique, right? So you may have known this technology in the past as VMware Live Recovery. We are bringing in that very critical technology into advanced cyber compliance, right? So the key benefits that you see here on the screen map to the challenges that I was just mentioning, right? You have this prescriptive VCF on-premises cyber recovery clean room. it comes, you'll have the push button network isolation to prevent the lateral movement. You have the advanced validation tools that will help you clean, restore points, and identify pre-infection restore points. We will give you guidance to select your recovery point candidate, right? We're using data and metadata-based parameters such as entropy, VMDK rate of change, file deletion, modification, to be able to help you make an informed decision as to which restore point candidates you want to validate. And then finally, when it comes to the slow iterations, disruptive testing, we do enable instant power on of VMs in the isolated clean room with no data rehydration or VM format conversion to address this key challenge. And let's not forget disaster recovery, right? So essentially, we are including on-premises disaster recovery as well into VMware Cyber Compliance, Advanced Cyber Compliance. And these are all the capabilities you already know and love, right? We are supporting RPOs as low as 1 minute, thanks to vSphere, enhanced vSphere replication. We also support the non-disruptive testing for DR. And this can be done at a scale that's pretty massive, right? We have a lot of enterprise customers currently deploying this technology to protect their mission critical workloads and their non-mission critical as well. And then finally, we understand that customization is important, right? Not every customer needs the exact same thing. So ultimately, we want to enable you to customize the way you implement our technology to fit your needs. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Harshad. Take it away.
Thank you. My name is Harshad Kolte. I am responsible for product marketing for vSphere, specifically vCenter and ESX. And Bellu gave a great intro on what happens when attacks have occurred from a recovery perspective. From a platform perspective, I'm more focused on actually ensuring that the platform actually prevents those. So with that, jump into the first area. So when you talk about security challenges, I think the focus in from a security challenges in computing today is dealing with trust issues, and basically it boils down to we choose to trust something as at the infrastructure layer, and that relationship is taken advantage of by an attacker, by a malicious attacker, and they may want to steal your data, they may want to corrupt it, move it, demand a ransom for it. And that's what we are trying to prevent, right? Demand a ransom for it. We want to understand trust issues. And when we try to think of how to protect that sensitivity of data, we have to think of data in terms of data states. It's important to understand those data states. There are three data states when it comes to it: data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. Data at rest is essentially, basically storage. Your data is sitting on some storage device somewhere, either local or across the network. Data is in transit is basically when you are moving that data across, potentially across the network. This may be emailing files, downloading some media from a website, and so on and so forth. But the third area is basically data in use. An application is actively using the data. It could be like the example that says that somebody working on their Word document, a developer working on their code, etc. And the big challenge is actually in this third area, which is data in use. Data at rest and data in transit are kind of already solved problems, so to say. What we have done is over the last couple of decades, at least, addressed this with features at the hypervisor level. VM encryption and vSAN encryption, for example, addresses storage trust issues. TLS, data in transit, vSAN is data in transit encryption, for example, takes care of data in transit, so network trust issues. But data in use is where some of these challenges lie. What happens when an application is already running and trying to and malicious user attackers could potentially have attacks at this level, and that's where the next um, frontier, so to say, for security lies. Let's take a little deeper look at some of the use case or how these challenges manifest themselves when it comes to data in use, the issues there. And this is, I will probably be dating myself here, but I want to just take a step back and talk about few years ago, some of these vulnerabilities which we had never heard of in the past came up. Things like Spectre, Meltdown, L1TF, etc. Our TMM folks tell us there are some more that I'm not calling out here. But bottom line was those vulnerabilities started making us really ask the question of, can we trust the hardware? And that's a question that was really never asked before. In a previous seminar, I said, I remember the times when we used to actually have locks on workstations. If you remember those, Sun workstations and the likes of those. There used to be hardware dongles which used to limit, features that are turned on for the applications, and there was an implicit trust in hardware. And these vulnerabilities really brought into question it. Can we really trust the hardware? So this hardware vulnerabilities that's the second bullet down there. These are challenges, and they manifest themselves at the CPU and memory controller layer. Trusting in shared environments, as we have more and more virtualized environments, multi-tenant environments, public or private cloud. How do you ensure that you can trust a neighboring application not to have it mess with your data? There are these challenges for shared environments. The hardware vulnerabilities also manifest themselves in certain other ways, right? Integrity attacks, which are more memory attacks. I think the example there are a couple of Rowhammer is, I think, one of the examples of those types of vulnerabilities. Trusting the hypervisor itself, right? A lot of faith is or trust is placed in the hypervisor to do things behind the scenes, move workloads to performance tuning, etc. But that also exposes them to attacks from that perspective. And the admins and the super users of those hypervisors, or even developers who may be um, you know, uh, developing those applications to take advantage of those features. So insider threats become another challenge for data interest. And as always, when we are trying to ensure that we are up to speed and enforcing the latest patches, compliance and security always remains a concern, especially in regulated environments. So what is VMware trying to do with this? And this is where our confidential computing vision is. This roughly map to the challenges I had on the previous slide. We want to make sure that we want to encrypt the data in memory. So we know that the prior mechanisms do not really apply or do not really work for data in use. We want to ensure that we can encrypt that data in memory. We want to enable that sharing or trust in the shared environments. And we want to what confidential computing does give you is offers you hardware-based isolation, and that hardware-based isolation ensures that adjacent workloads, they ensure that data is encrypted even while it's being processed. They also hardware isolation also helps uh, 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 promote sharing of that data, right? Adjacent application should also be able to share workloads in those environments without trampling on each other's based on the right amount of privilege. We want to protect against insider threats by restricting access in either at the hypervisor or the user perspective. And always, right, we want to make sure that we have the latest capabilities exposed. So we want to be future proof. Of course, always want to maintain regulatory compliance. Now, I'm specifically called this as the confidential computing vision. This is what we are trying to do. How we are getting there, let's look at it in a couple of next slides. So I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to make sure that the confidential computing value comes across. And if you translate back to the trust issues and looking at it from access perspective, basically any layer like you can see the multiple layers, and your data, confidential data, is owned by the application that it's working with, but it's sitting on top of the guest OS, the CPU that's running underneath. There's the hypervisor controlling all of the different for it, the BIOS on which it's running, and at the end of the day, the users of all of these, right? The admins and the employees. And vulnerabilities reside at every layer of this access to this confidential data. Every entity that can access this is really increasing that attack surface. And what confidential computing really gives you is limits the access to just those entities that need it. So in this case, everything that's in blue, right? The app that owns it, the guest OS on which it's running, and the CPU. Uh, and by doing that, it can enforce those, and by giving additional integrity protections, that's how confidential computing really reduces that attack surface. Now, where we are today, with 9.2, confidential computing support became available as RPQ and is included in the ACC SKU. What are we turning on, right? What we have really announced is the ability is turning on support for Intel TDX and AMD SEV SNP. It's a mouthful. Intel TDX is trusted domain extension. SEV SNP is secure encrypted virtualization, secure nested paging, etc. It's a mouthful, but basically this is an extension of the previous confidential computing technologies from Intel and AMD respectively. TDX precursor was SGX, SEV SNP, SEV ES was the precursor. They have advanced, right? This problem is not new. We have been from a processor level, both Intel and AMD have been trying to solve these problems. With TDX, they have expanded the trust boundaries, or another way to look at it is trusted execution environment for that runtime. Same thing for AMD. They have a slightly different way. They enhanced SEVES with stronger memory protection and VM security enhancement. This is what we have turned on for 9.1 and for ACC at GM. What does it give you? So a little bit of the how for what you're actually getting with both Intel TDX and AMD. First of all, one of the first layers in that onion was the hypervisor. And both Intel and AMD first make sure that the hypervisor is not granted the access. By doing so, it actually brings a little bit of a paradoxical statement, if you or situation. If you don't place your trust in the hypervisor, and then you don't trust the admins of that platform anymore, the hypervisor can still schedule the VMs, it can allocate the memory, etc. But some of the other operations, like vMotion, where the hypervisor would have cloned the VM, moved the data, etc., you actually don't get access to this because it's up to the VM to determine who it gives access to. So it inherently leads up to the situation that certain things, as they are today, don't automatically run. vMotion being one of them. DRS, which is something else that is needed. So there are things that are still being solved by not just us, by Intel AMD together, but we are lockstep with them as they make the capabilities available to us. In addition to that first statement, there are additional integrity protections and attestation capabilities to attest your workloads. This is what you get today, and some of it is forward looking. What's upcoming in confidential computing? Couple of those things is one of them is quick boot and secure boot. Now, vSphere users, ESX users already know this capability for traditional VMs. That's being extended. Quick boot is essentially making sure that you reduce the time that host needs to start up or remediate from. That's being made available to hosts which are running on platforms with confidential computing turned on. Something that's coming later down in the pipe is secure boot, which essentially makes sure that the VMs and the systems are booting up with trusted software. So these are things that are coming. And to close it out, what we have already turned on is the support for the latest technologies from Intel and AMD. The biggest takeaway I want to leave is what we have today ensures that you can actually run confidential computing the workloads on VCF 9.1 ACC today. With that, I'll hand it over to Devyani.
Thank you, Harshad. All right, so I'm Devyani Pasolkar. I lead product marketing for VCF Platform Security. So far we've talked about features and functionality that provide advanced security and compliance for your VCF platform. Once you have a functional environment, continually managing the security and compliance posture and optimizing performance is equally important. And so we offer some exclusive support and services as part of the Advanced Cyber Compliance, which is in addition to your existing Broadcom support package. So the first is proactive security assessments. These reports have comprehensive, actionable insights that are derived through in-depth examination of log bundles that you would provide to us on a monthly basis through the support portal. And these reports are packed with actionable recommendations. You'll get prescriptive guidance on VMware security vulnerabilities or VMSAs, as well as upgrade recommendations to maintain optimal performance and compatibility. You will also have certificate expiration notifications to ensure uninterrupted operations. And lastly, best practice recommendations to further optimize the environment. Our goal here is to help you proactively maintain secure, resilient, and high-performing environment. And so once you upload the standardized log bundles, and that process is very similar to how you open a reactive support ticket today, our proactive support team gets to work to analyze the logs and prepare a customized report for you. And so this team is a separate team within the support organization consisting of specialized engineers. And so you will have a designated support engineer from the proactive team that is working directly with you, providing personal attention and support to help you proactively uncover any significant operational gaps, potential risks, and performance improvements. And on the slide here, you see a screenshot of a section of the report showing you critical and moderate findings with details on how they can be resolved. So the takeaway here is that not only do you get a customized assessment of your environment on a regular basis, but you also have the care and attention of highly experienced support engineers who provide assistance to your teams in understanding and proactively fixing any issues in your environment. And by the way, these assessments are available today to customers that have a support account manager or dedicated technical support engineer. And seeing how successful these programs have been in the field, we decided to offer them in the Advanced Cyber Compliance offering. And you can see from the positive reviews listed here, the incredible value that these reports provide to our customers. So a lot of happy consumers across all verticals taking advantage of these rich assessments and support personnel. And so our customers are able to resolve issues proactively and at scale across their environment before they become a critical impact. And next, as part of the Advanced Cyber Compliance offering, customers will also enjoy enhanced incident response and get not just 24/7 support for severity 1 issues, but also 10/7 support for severity 2 issues. So let's take a look at that. So on any severity 1 issues, we provide 24/7 support to all our customers. You know that part. And for the Advanced Cyber Compliance customers, we will also provide 10/7 support on severity 2 issues. This means business hour support during weekdays and weekends as well. So today, weekend support would only be possible if you have a significant production outage. But with this offering, your severity 2 issues don't have to wait until Monday. Our support team can help you as and when these issues come up 7 days a week. And so this helps you get on top of rising concerns as they surface, hopefully before they become critical SEB1s. And as you see, there's no existing support offering that gives you that. So it's exclusive to the Advanced Cyber Compliance offering. So to summarize, there are 2 support-related items here for Advanced Cyber Compliance customers. First is the proactive compliance assessments and expert guidance. And the second is the 10/7 support for severity 2 issues. And that brings me to the end of this section. Let me hand it back to Balu for the closing remarks.
Okay. hang in there, folks, because we have one last question, which is actually the most important one. So we're going to wrap this up with all this very valuable content that all of these subject matter experts have presented today. So essentially, you guys have seen all of these different individual kind of use case, right? The value pillars, but I think the most important takeaway here is that this is not, these are not siloed use cases, right? What we are trying to do here is to enable a spectrum, right? And ultimately simplify the way you operate, enhance the value of your platform, and also make it more resilient, all of which have a direct impact on your ability to be compliant. So please come talk to us, ask us all the hard questions. And before we close, I do have one last important question. This question essentially, we want to know, right, after listening to this presentation, what are the things you found most valuable? What other capabilities do you think would be useful to your organizations? So this is an opportunity for you to help us shape our technology to be able to meet you where you are and address these critical challenges across compliance, security, resiliency. So help us improve our platform, folks. This is your chance. And we have less than a minute left, but I'm sure you can type in something really quick before your next meeting.
I will even stick around a little long to make sure people get this in, because this is critical information here.
Yeah, this is your opportunity, folks.
Let us know what's going on. And while people are working on that, I definitely wanted to say thank you to everyone who is here today. Thank you for everyone who's presenting today. I know a lot of you have been super, super busy as we've jumped into Q1. So thanks for putting this together. I know there's been a lot of positive feedback here. Real good session so far. All right. You know what? We've got some good participation. We've had 8 folks give us really good content here. So we'll give this just another
Awesome.
couple minutes. There's number 9. Let people finish up. All righty, folks. Well, with that,
Okay.
we're going to wrap today. Thanks again for everybody's participation, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Recordings of this session will be available along with our upcoming schedule of events on the webpage. Please check it out. Check the recording for anyone who wasn't able to make it, or share with your friends. We appreciate it when you do that as well, just to get the word out there, and folks will start really taking advantage of this. So thanks again, folks. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.